Right now, I'm happy to have running for Mason County Commission Race District 2, Kevin Shutty. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Good, Jeff. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Good. Yeah, thanks for coming on and talking with me a little bit about this. We're going to have you on a couple weeks ago for that forum, but the weather just, we wanted to make sure everybody was safe.
Absolutely.
So we brought you in for this little time here to talk about things that are going on. First things first, if someone's hearing you for the first time, give us an introduction about yourself and why you're running for this position this year.
Sure. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. And good morning to everybody that's listening on 10:30 a.m. and watching online.
That's right.
I'm a long-time listener and first-time guest.
Hey!
So it's good to be here. But as you said, I am Kevin Shutty. I'm running for Mason County Commissioner in District 2. So I live out in Union with my wife, Catherine. And the reason for running, it was pretty simple. Catherine is a school nurse up in the North Mason School District and happens to be on the front line of a lot of the issues that we're facing here in Mason County. I work full-time in the state legislature as a public information officer, and then I do a lot of outreach work. So I try to get representatives in touch with constituent groups and take them on tours of businesses and meeting with different organizations across the state. And so it's really given me a kind of a broad perspective on things that are happening, not just here locally and regionally, but certainly things that are happening across the state. And so the decision to run, it's always a tough one, and it's a family decision. And so my wife and I, we talked about it, and we said, it'd be great if I could use my experience in the legislature, my experience here locally as a planning commissioner. Been on the planning commission for 2 years. My term just ended earlier this month. If I could use that to address some of the issues that we are facing here in Mason County. And out of those conversations, just sort of built a message that a lot of people have been able to kind of get behind and rally behind. And that's, simply working for a stronger economy, safer neighborhoods, and expanding opportunity for everybody here in Mason County. And so really with the focus of our best days are ahead of us. We have a lot of great things happening here, and I just look forward to being able to use those experiences to build a stronger future here.
Let's talk about Mason County.
Sure.
It's one of the most traveled counties, meaning people leave Mason County to go work in other places. What would you do as a county commissioner to slow and in the best possible scenario, reverse that trend? And then what power does a commissioner have to do that?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. And I think, it's come up a couple of times at different forums. And I get the question a lot. What do you think Mason County's biggest or best resource is? And frankly, it's our people. We're a resilient community. We've been through some boom and bust times. But right now, we do export our greatest asset out of the county every day to the tune of over 50% of our population leaving Mason County for work. It's just not good in terms of building an economy here in Mason County that's sustainable. And so that is an issue that we need to address, and I think we can do that in a couple of ways. One, our unemployment here in Mason County is still at 8%. We just ticked down a little bit here the last month, but it's still at 8%. That's higher than our regional neighbors in Kitsap and Thurston County. And I think what we need to do is we need to look at a few things that we can strengthen our economy here locally to give people those opportunities. Throughout the campaign, hearing what people are up against here in the county, we need to expand our training and education opportunities. So I'd like to find ways to empower Olympic College, South Puget Sound College, our school districts, local businesses, labor unions, come together. Let's find ways to empower people to get the training and education they need to be successful in the economy. Let's build a new economy here that takes everybody forward. And the other thing that we need to do, frankly, in terms of making county government more efficient, and this is an area that a county commissioner can have a major impact on the economy, is let's get our regulations, our planning policies, let's get those in order. Right now, we're going through the process of updating our comprehensive plan. That's an every 10-year thing, and the last update, we made the decision as a planning commission. I wasn't a part of that, but that the planning commission decided to do only the mandated updates required by state law based on law changes. And again, that's the decision that was made here recently with our comprehensive plan update. What I'd like to do when elected and when I get into office in January is let's open up that whole plan. Let's take a look at the 13 components that make up a county's comprehensive plan, and let's make it conducive to growth. We're not talking about creating sprawl. But 0% growth isn't going to help keep people in Mason County. And so, within that comprehensive plan, you start to address, all the issues that include building, the environment, transportation, things like that. And so we did pass a transportation component earlier in the spring. Really proud to have worked on that. I've advocated for things that would help increase our tourism opportunities in Mason County that would bring people into the county. One of the things that I advocated for and had included in that transportation plan was to work on building an electric vehicle infrastructure on the Highway 101 corridor. So as people come in from Olympia, as people come in from other points in the South Sound area, that if they have an electric vehicle, they can charge it, and hopefully that gets them into our retail centers in Hoodsport and up through Hama Hama. And I think that would benefit our neighbors to the north in Jefferson and Clallam counties too, as people feel like they can go that far because they have a charging destination here in Mason County. So things like that I think we can do, that we can find grants and partnerships on to get people coming into the county and get people staying in the county. That's the direction that we need to go.
Are there some things in the comp plan that you don't feel should be county purview?
Well, I actually would prefer to see more county influence in terms of how we do business in terms of the comprehensive plan. We had the Growth Management Act in the early 1990s, and I think we have a little bit of a conflict between the spirit and the letter of the law. And in a lot of ways, rural counties like ours, a lot of those components, don't necessarily fit. And so I'd like to see some more local control. And that's why I'd really encourage our planning commission to open that back up, take a look at those policies, and really put Mason County's stamp on it, put together a plan that works for here, that makes sense for here. And I think it's possible. I know it's possible. We've done a lot of work already on some of the components. And it would give us an opportunity to, make ourselves a leader regionally in terms of our comprehensive plan. And I think that's the way we need to go, even in terms of addressing affordable housing needs, which is a huge issue here in Mason County. So
let's talk a little bit about the spending in the county. Talk to me a little bit about your assessment of how fiscally responsible the current commission is and changes that you would make.
Yeah. Well, I think that's always, that's the hard part of governing is prioritizing and then balancing. I think you have department heads and other elected officials that run their own part of county government. They come in, it's their job to advocate for a budget that they feel is sustainable and effective for their office. I think that's great, but as a commissioner, it's going to be my job to prioritize and to say this is what I think we should be focusing on in local government. And so I think when we look at what we do budgetarily here, my priority is going to be public safety. I think that is our paramount duty, in local government. I think this week you've had a number of the state legislative candidates in, and you hear on the state level all the time, our paramount duty in the state government is fully funding K-12 education. But when people think of their local government, they tend to think about their roads, they tend to think about public health and picking the trash up, and then they think about when they call 911 who's going to show up. And so it's really not a matter for me of looking back and saying, well, this and kind of nitpicking what the current commission has done. It's going to be about me providing a vision for what I think is an appropriate budget and appropriate priorities. And so I'll be looking for ways to strengthen what I think are those priorities in the budget.
I think this past week, Sheriff Casey Salisbury from Mason County, and along with some of his other folks there in the department, made some presentations to the county commission. Did you get a sense, if you were there, of the benefits of what he was talking about? Do we need to increase more funding for the sheriff's department? If we do, how do we find that funding? I know there's been some work already done without raising taxes, but are we at a kind of a ceiling here where something has to give?
Well, I think when we look at that budget, that's the department. It's the biggest department that we have in the county. It's over 100 FTEs, so it's a lot of employees, and frankly, it's a lot of liability. You run an operation that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You're going to incur some costs, and there's a lot of things that go into even mandating with training and making sure that our deputies are well trained and well They have the equipment that they need, and so I mean that's the lion's share of our budget, and I think rightly so. It's an expensive operation to run, and then you factor in the issues that we have with our jail. I've toured the jail. I've been in there, and I've seen the need. One of the things that I did a couple of weeks ago is I did a ride along with the sheriff's deputy up in the north end of the county, and if people have done that or they work in law enforcement, it's just a different perspective, right? When you're in that patrol car and you're right next to a deputy and you kind of get a better sense of what they're looking for, what things are kind of on a ground level, and so for me it's looking at that budget from the standpoint of the deputy in the car, the deputy in the jail that that has to process people coming into the jail and those kinds of things, and so. It's one of the reasons that our local fraternal order of police have endorsed me. It's because they recognize that I understand that's a big lift. That's a priority for us, and should be in government. So I think in terms of public safety, in terms of that budget, I think. I think we had a good presentation the other day. It was a lengthy presentation the other day, and so as we kind of digest that, I don't think we're at the ceiling. I think we do need to make some other investments, especially in the jail area, and so I think as we kind of go through that. We'll have to look at funding. Sure, it's my job is to hold them to some accountability in terms of spending and budget and everything. But really bringing everybody together and saying, okay, this is a priority. How do we go about funding it? And that's why you get paid. You get paid to make those decisions. So I look forward to that.
In the primary, folks in District 2 of Mason County chose between you and your opponent, Rosalind Reed. But when it comes to the general election, the whole county will vote for either one of you. How are you going to take what you've learned in District 2 and apply it to, because all three districts in Mason County are very different.
Sure.
And how are you going to take that and work with all three districts?
Well, I think Mason County, three diverse commissioner districts, sure. But I think at the root of everything, there are some values that all people in Mason County hold very true to, and that's hard work, and that's accountability and transparency, and those are three things that I brought to the primary. Those are three things that I brought to the general election, and those are three things that I'll bring to the county commission.
Well, finally, then, Kevin, tell me in a couple of moments here why voters this morning are looking over their ballots. They see your name, they see your opponent's name. Why do they make that check mark on their ballot for you?
Well, thanks again for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about my campaign and my vision. And for me, I've spent the past 8 months on this campaign talking about what my vision would be for Mason County and how we can get the economy growing and how we can improve public safety in the county and really providing ideas and solutions to the issues that we're facing. And so that's a key difference between my opponent and me, and I think as we kind of get closer here, come down the home stretch, I encourage people to make a decision for Mason County's future. I said in the primary election that we can't rely on voices from our past to take us to a strong future. That we need to be forward focused. We need to dream big and get to work for Mason County, and those are the things that I brought to this campaign. That's the attitude that I bring to my work in the legislature and did on the planning commission here, and that's the ethic that I'll bring to the county commission. And so it's been an honor to travel the county these past several months and get to talk to people here and learn about the struggles that they have and why they love to live in Mason County and why they want to continue to make this home. And so I look forward to representing everybody in Mason County, the people that vote for me, the people that don't vote for me. Everybody here should have a voice in their county government, and I hope to give them that.
Kevin Shutty is running for Mason County Commission in District 2. You can find his name on the ballots now, and those ballots need to be brought back in by November 8th. That's Election Day. Kevin, thanks for coming in.
Jeff, thanks. And if I could just give a quick shout out to the North Mason High School Bulldogs. They got their homecoming game tonight and big homecoming dance tomorrow. So be safe, have fun, and go get them.